In this video, I'm going to show you how to create and manage sales invoices. There are a few ways you can create sales invoices within the software. The first way is to click the Create Invoice quick link at the top of the screen from the main dashboard. Alternatively, if you go to the customer record, once you click into a customer record, you will see there is a Create Invoice button at the top of the screen. The third way is to click into the Invoices module on the left-hand side of the screen and just click the Create button at the top of the page. Before you start creating invoices, you can make sure you're happy with the various sales codes within the software just by clicking the link at the top of the page which says Sales Codes. You can have as many sales codes as you need. You can just record your sales against the sales of goods code which is already provided, but if you have different products or services you offer, you can add more information in. For instance, I might want to split out my labour and materials on invoices, so I can do that just by setting up two codes within the software. If I click into the sales of goods code, I can just change this, so I'm going to change the description to my labour. We can also pre-fill the information on here to come through onto the invoice automatically. If you click the pre-fill rate and description field, I'm going to set my rate at £300 a day. We can then select our VAT rate if we are VAT registered that needs to be applied to that. And we can also add in the description that we want to appear on the invoice. Once we've done that, just click the update button and that will amend that sales code within the software. To add in my materials, I can leave the code at 101, so it'll be my next sequential code, and then I'm just going to say it's going to be called materials and add a new sales code. We can pre-fill information in here, but my materials might always be different, so I can just leave that information blank and then just update. We can now see I can apply to labour and materials when I'm creating sales invoices. When we go back to the Invoices screen, all we need to do now to create a new sales invoice is click the Create button at the top of the page. The invoice number will pre-fill automatically with the next number. You can then select the customer from the drop-down list, or if it's a new customer, just click the plus icon on the right-hand side and enter the customer details where needed. Once you've selected a customer, it will pre-fill with their address details directly from their customer record, and you can choose to use a different delivery address on the invoice if you wish to. On the right hand side, we can select the date of the invoice itself, and on the customer record's payment terms, it will calculate when the payment is due. We have 28-day payment terms built in with this customer, so we can see their due date is the 3rd of July 2017. We can also select the relevant currency that's needed. If we are using multi-currency, they will appear in the drop-down box here. By default, we have British pounds selected. If you want to put in any reference numbers, you can just type in the purchase order field any specific reference numbers you want to appear here. Once you're happy with all the details at the top of the invoice, to add information in, all you need to do is click the Add Line Item button. Once we do that, we can just start inputting information. We can see here that we can select the sales code, so I've got my labour and my materials split out on here now. If you need stock management, you will be able to choose a product from the drop-down box here. You can then type in the details of work provided. For instance, mine says a daily rate labour because that's what we keyed in at the beginning. And then we can just add in any more information we need. We can put in the quantity. So I've got 1 week required, so we can say that's 5 days at my daily rate. And we can see it's picked up my £300 rate. It's added in 20% VAT. And the total included VAT is now listed on the right hand side of the screen. You can change the net rate if needed, so I'm actually going to do that at £250 a day, and that will adjust the gross figure. Alternatively, you could just type in the value as the total and it will calculate the VAT rate for you. To add more information onto the invoice, we just click the Add Line Item button. I'm just going to add some materials in here. And again, we can just type whatever we want into this field. There are no limits to how many characters you can type into here. So if you do have some very bespoke invoices, you can type as much of the information as you want. We can then put in a value. So I'm going to put £500 worth of materials, which includes the VAT. And then once I'm happy with the layout and all the information on the sales invoice, we just click the Save button on the top right hand side of the screen. Once you've hit the Save button, there are a few options on the invoice. At the top of the page, you will see there is an Edit button. So if you need to make any changes on an invoice, you just click the Edit button, make any changes you wish, and then hit the Save button, and that invoice has now been amended. If you do a lot of similar invoices, there is also a Copy button at the top of the screen. We can hit the Copy button and then we can choose to copy that to a new quote or a new invoice or a recurring invoice, and all you do is select what you want to copy and it's copied all of that information onto another invoice, and then I could just go and select a different customer and it's now created a new sales invoice for me. So if you do a lot of repeat work, it's very quick to do that. The other main options we have on the invoice screen is the ability to print. So we can just print that invoice as a PDF. Alternatively, you can just email it directly from the software. It will pick up the customer's email address and it will attach the invoice as a PDF. Once I open up that PDF, we can see all the invoice information has now been listed on the page, and that's been emailed directly to the customer with the price and also the due date all listed on there. Once you want to record a payment, the client pays you against invoice, if you scroll down, you've now got the option to just add a payment in. If we click the Add Payment button, you can enter the payment date, you can enter the payment amount, so it will default to the full amount, but if it's a part payment deposit, you can just change the value on here. You can then select the bank account that the payment's going into, and also the method of payment, so we can see I've got bank transfer, cash, etc. So you can just select the method and then you can type any additional notes that are needed. Once I hit save against that payment, we can now see that payment is listed at the bottom of the page. You do have the option to unallocate if needed, or we can email or print off a remittance of that payment. And we can now see at the top of the page, the invoice is now listed as part paid and it's still got £1,500 due. If we go to the left hand side of the screen, we can now see those invoices are now listed in the invoice screen, and the status of the first one is unpaid and the status of the next one is part paid. So we can see a full status of all of our sales invoices within the system. If you go through to the customer module and click into a customer record, under the invoices and stats section, you can now see all of the invoices listed, the invoice we just created, and on the right hand side you can see average time to pay, and all of the other information will just flow throughout the software. If you go to the dashboard, the overdue invoices are now shown on the page here. As you can see, it's very easy to create and manage sales invoices within the software, but if you do need any help or have any questions about invoices, then please contact us at info@perfectoaccounts.co.uk.